So, Pat, before the break, we were talking about what has been a really an ongoing story, it seems to me, over the past 6 weeks, really since Donald Trump was inaugurated, which is at times a cascading, at other times sort of a drip, drip, drip of leaks about investigations or that have taken place or that are ongoing regarding Donald Trump and either members of the Trump administration or people associated with the Trump campaign. And there are two different perspectives on this, and I think they're not necessarily mutually exclusive. One is that it is very problematic, the idea of intelligence agencies clearly trying to undermine or manipulate elected leaders by leaking. And this is
but Sam, not just elected leaders. They are undermining political policy. Okay, that's my point. It's not just about an elected leader. Now these Hillary holdovers that can't get over the idea that she was a terrible candidate and that they should have given Bernie Sanders a chance to run. These Hillary holdovers still look at this and say, "Oh my God, we don't care what the intelligence industry does. We don't care if they create a Cold War with Russia. We're going to let that nut job McCain create whatever he wants to create as far as this unsettling aura, this era of everybody being so unsettled about world peace, because McCain is the guy who all of the arms industry goes to when they want something done. McCain's fingerprints are all over this, Sam.
I just want to disaggregate a couple of things. I mean, it is clear, it seems to me, that there is an ongoing investigation. I mean, we know from reporting at this point, and it's leaks. And look, these leaks are just as illegal as any other leaks that we get from intelligence services. But there's also this concept of whistleblowing. And there is certainly a perspective that's out there that there is an ongoing investigation, that there was concern by people in the FBI that the investigation would be quashed by a new Department of Justice head, Attorney General, who obviously closely aligned with Donald Trump. I mean, was a premier member of his campaign.
He's going to make this go away. I can promise you he will, and that's wrong.
I mean, it's really problematic. And so on one level, the real story, it seems to me, could be that we have whistleblowing, and on one hand we have progressives who are championing the right for these intelligence agencies to basically whistleblow on an administration that might be trying to quash.
Sam. It's against.
Well, I understand
we have a constitution. We agree to.
I understand.
We agree
but when
to
Thomas
rules.
Drake. When Thomas Drake did this whistleblowing, I was supportive of what he was doing, even though it was against the law. When Edward Snowden whistleblowed,
and you know what?
I'm supportive of him, and Chelsea Manning supportive of her.
That's
when
right.
They did this whistleblowing. And so it's quite possible this is a very similar situation.
Well, okay,
and
but here,
disaggregate for a moment that this is Russia. If this was about members of the Trump administration having deals, banking deals, having all sorts of complicated financial transactions with any other large entity or any other large country, and we're seemingly making policy, because I don't think either one of us think that Donald Trump ran because he had a new vision for the way that we organize geopolitics in the world. And look, I'm not making any determination whether or not we should have a more close alliance with Russia or not.
Sam, this is not even about Russia. It's about the fact that we have a constitutional rule of law in this country. We have an executive branch. We've got a congressional branch. And we've got a judicial branch. Nowhere in the Constitution is there any mention about a spook industry entity that's supposed to make policy in this country. As a matter of fact, this is what Frank Church was terrified by. This is why we had months-long hearing, because the spook industry was running the government. And and to me, to have these pablum types that listen to oh my God, the Russians hacked the DNC. Maybe they did. I'm sure they did. But did that interfere with political policy? It did not interfere with political policy. It didn't change the
I'm
election.
not even, yeah, I don't think that the issue whether or not they hacked or didn't hack is really the issue here. The issue is whether or not we have an administration that's functioning in the best interest of the United States.
We don't know that, but that's what we have checks and balances for.
But
we don't.
But we don't have any checks and balances. I mean, we have whistleblowers. Do you believe in the concept, though, that it's possible there could be a legitimate leaking and whistleblowing if there is an investigation that they are afraid will be shut down unless there is a political response from, let's say, intelligence committees.
If you follow the money on this one, it's going to go three places. It's going to go to the arms industry that wants a Cold War with Russia. You may think that's a good thing. I think it's a bad thing.
But don't we already have that?
Hey, it's going to go there. It's going to go. You're going to follow the money to the media, which, by God, they love a war. You know, they're the same people that invented Iraq. They wanted a war. Why, Sam, hold on just one second. Why do you think McDonnell Douglas advertises on ABC and NBC and CS? Are you going to go out and buy a rocket?
Donald Trump called for $64 billion increase in military spending this week.
Right,
if this is about arms manufacturers, they would want to keep Donald Trump in place.
It's about a Cold War. It's about a Cold War, Sam. It's about the idea that we don't have spooks determining who we go to war with, like they did, by the way, in Iraq. That was all generated by the spook industry, who created yellow cake radioactive powder, who fed it all to the New York Times through Judith Miller.
My understanding of that is that was not that was a function of elected leadership looking for what they wanted, because that same intelligence was rejected by the Clinton administration.
Okay, can I tell you something? We're getting way off on the point, but the point is this: we don't allow the spook industry to create political policy in this country. And when you have Democrats who are so upset that Trump is the president, and they should be, because most of them are responsible for that, they're so upset that Trump is our new president that they're willing to throw out the Constitution just to get even. And that's what's happened with Hillary Clinton and those Podesta fools who lost the election. They want to generate this Russia issue. You got the Warhawks who want to generate this Russia issue. You've got the media who would love nothing more than to pay back Boeing and McDonnell Douglas for their advertisements on the air. This is all about money, and the money generation is taking place by and through the spook industry.
So let me ask you: do you think that there is? I mean, let me just ask you a couple questions. One, do you think that there is an ongoing investigation about connections between the Trump campaign and Trump campaign officials?
Yeah, I think it's going to be half-witted. I think it's going to be a half-witted investigation. The answer is yes.
The investigation's already gone on. And so do you think that it is do you think it would be likely that Sessions may shut this down? We already know from this week that the White House has asked the FBI.
He's not going to shut it down, Sam. He's going to do
worse. But do you think
he's going to do worse than
that?
He's going to do worse than that. He's going to give you the appearance that something meaningful is happening. So in that instance, don't you think that that leaks in that narrow instance is
something that we would want to encourage from whistleblowers?
No, I just believe in the Constitution. I just believe in the Constitution, Sam. That's why we have checks and balances. That's why we're not Turkey or we're not India. We're not a third world country where we are driven by a spook industry fiat. And that's what's happening in this country right now. And it just is amazing to me that the average progressive doesn't understand that, or if they do understand it, they're not willing to accept it. That scares the ever-living heck out of me. I got to tell you that.